Hey, I'm Rachael.
And I'm Amanda, and this is Beyond a Ballot.
Hello and welcome to another episode, the final episode of season 1 of Beyond a Ballot. I'm Rachael. Here's Amanda. Hi.
Hi, woohoo! I can't believe it's the final one.
I know, me too. I was thinking, I'm so sad. And then I was like, why am I sad? This was the most amazing thing I've ever done. And so it's not sad because we'll be back in a few months with season 2.
But you only get one first, right?
Yeah.
So in that
It's
way,
true.
it's sad because it's like, I always feel that way. Like when my kids, you know, my girls finished a particular school this year, and it's like, we'll never be at that school again. You know, they'll never be in that classroom again. And there's something wonderful about the fact that they're going on and they're moving on to something else, and that newness and that change is exciting. But it's always hard, I find, to say goodbye to those first.
That's great insight, because literally for the last 2 days, I'm like, why am I sad that we're wrapping season 1? But you're right. And I told you that I listened to our first episode the other day, and I just thought, wow, we've come a long way in the way that we share with our audience, what we talk about. The people that we've had on this podcast have been our dream.
When I remember talking early on, just before we started taping, and we had those wish lists, remember?
Yep, exactly.
And I also remember like our first outreaches, you know, kind of like being like, please do us a favor and come on the
formal
podcast. Now we've had, you know, I think some of the biggest voices, the biggest female voices in Canadian politics. We've had the former prime minister, the only female prime minister, Kim Campbell. We've had sitting MPs. We've had former MPs. We've had, you know, major commentators and pundits, and we've had Americans.
Yeah. And people from all, like, so many provinces, not all. Hopefully we'll get all next season. But I'm thinking about, we've covered global issues. We covered Israel, Gaza. We covered elections with Manitoba. We've talked about the BC election. So it's really been a dream as to what we were able to accomplish in 30 episodes. It's pretty crazy. And then my mind obviously goes to, what's next? Who else can we ask?
I know. Well,
are we out?
It's true. No. I think, you know, interestingly, I have loved the stories this year. I've loved listening to so many women share their why.
Yeah.
Their reason for saying yes, their desire to be part of a big conversation that matters so much to women in this country. But one of my favorite things about this season has been our dinner parties, where we bring on a number of women from different parties, different kind of party stripes, and we talk about the issues. And I'd love to see us do more of that next year. I think that those are really fun. They go by so fast. You can hardly believe that 45 minutes has gone by. It feels like we have so much more to say.
Yeah.
But you know, and I've loved the contrast of that with diving deep into one-on-one stories with people who have a lot to share. But I'm curious, I don't know if you can pick one. It's like picking your favorite baby.
I know. I knew you were going to ask me that, and I was like, oh, I don't have an answer. I'm like going through everything in my mind.
Do you think you have a favorite episode from this season?
I think the one that stands out for me the most, and this is going to shock you that I'm saying this, but is Mercedes Stevenson. When she came on and talked to us about the military operation happening in Gaza. At that point in time, when I think it was like October, November, I remember thinking, this is a really hard topic to cover. It's a really hard topic for us to break down. And she's so brilliant when it comes to military and conflict. And I thought that the conversation we had with her was the right conversation at the right time. And that stood out for me for sure. But
I remember being so afraid to have that conversation.
Of course.
Because I was just so fearful kind of like how I felt doing CBC during that period, which is like saying the wrong thing or, you know, accidentally stepping into something in a way that I shouldn't step into it.
Yeah.
And I felt that push and pull in our conversations because I just wanted to do right by it. You know,
Exactly.
I wanted to deliver something that was consumable for people. It was easy to understand, that could break things down and not get too one-sided about the issue. And I think we struck a pretty good chord on that one.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that for a podcast that really aims to educate above everything else, you know, having that brilliant mind kind of walking us through it was something that totally stood out for me. But you're right, I can't pick one. Think about it. My dream was to have Miriam Monsef and Lisa Raid, and we had that. My dream was to have Kim Campbell. We had her. Like, we've dreamed and it's come true, which is unbelievable.
Well, I have a standout moment.
What was yours?
My favorite moment was our In Real Life episode.
Yeah.
With Selena Robinson.
I just got chills remembering that.
Which unfortunately we had terrible audio for. So
that we're still apologizing.
That we're still so sad about. That conversation was special because obviously it was in real life. So it took on the dynamic of an audience and feeling their reaction right away, which is something that you don't get from a podcast.
No, we just laugh at each other.
It's just you and I chit-chatting. So that was amazing. Her story was amazing. I laughed. I cried. I felt all the feels during the hour that we spent with her. And it really goes down as one of my favorite conversations of my lifetime. So
really? Of your lifetime?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, she was such a gracious guest. And before we went on stage with her, she said to us, you know, I'm an open book. Yeah. And when you have a guest like that, the conversation is going to be amazing. And we put some pretty big questions to her, and she was very gracious and she was interesting. Yeah, we should have her back next season.
Let's do it.
What are you looking forward to next season? Like, what are we going to talk about?
Well, I feel like, first of all, we're going to be in election year.
We are. I
so
can't wait.
It's kind of like our Super Bowl.
Yep.
Nothing could be more exciting than a federal election.
Nothing.
Literally nothing.
We have like advent calendars to the federal election. We should make those chocolate every day until October 2020.
That's so funny. We should do that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it because I think, you know, this is a forum where we're going to talk about all of the major issues related to the election. And I think it's going to be a fascinating election. I think that it's going to be, in some ways, you know, very volatile. I think we're going to see things that we haven't seen before and talk about things that we haven't talked about before. It's going to be curious to watch the role that social media plays and how misinformation finds itself into the hands of people in a way that maybe we haven't seen before. We also have the American election. So we're going to be dealing with that and the outcome of it and how that influences what happens here. And I think for people who love politics and people who love conversations about politics, there is no better time to produce a second season than in the midst of both an American election
and a Canadian
and our own federal election.
And I was going to say, we come back in September, so mark your calendars. October, we have 3 provincial elections.
That's
BC, right. New Brunswick, and Saskatchewan. So I'll be talking a lot about BC because it's pretty wild out here. If you haven't been watching, you should. And then we go November with the US election, and then we're on full-time Canadian election watch because who knows when that thing's going to happen.
Exactly.
We could be in it sometime, I'm going to say the spring, but who knows where we'll be but when we come back.
Or it could bleed into season 3.
It could bleed into season 3. It's true. I'm going to put my money. Oh, that's an interesting way of thinking about it. I'm going to put my money on season 2 for us. I think we're going to be, maybe we'll have an elongated season next year because we're in an election.
That's true. And maybe we'll have all of the federal leaders on the podcast.
So if you're listening,
Putting it out there.
JT, Pierre, and Jagmeet, and is it Elizabeth? Who's her co-leader? I don't even know.
Oh my gosh. Do we even talk about them as a party?
And Blanchette. Yeah, I know. Well, she was in the headlines last week. That's why.
That's true. She was. She got her 15 minutes.
Yeah, she's a foreign affairs advisor now. So
I also feel like we learned a lot this year.
Yeah, what did we learn?
Well, I think that there were parts of this year where we really wanted to educate and maybe went too deep into education. I don't know. I sort of felt that at some points. And so I think that the organic conversations that we had both with each other, which I think were definitely favorites among our listeners.
Yeah.
More of that, more of the dinner parties, more of this series. Like we did the Women Who.
Yeah.
Which I think was a really fun way to kind of frame the conversations that we had. So there's definitely a bit of learning from this year that I think we'll take into next. What do you think?
My number one lesson from this year was the theme. I actually feel like we uncovered this theme, having so many conversations with women leaders. The fact that male leaders left parties to women with very short runways, very unclear paths to victory. And that seemed, I mean, Kim Campbell talked about it. Kathleen Wynne talked about it. It's crazy how many women said that to us. And so for me, it was like, oh, this is a sociological pattern that's happening in this country. And I think just applying that to like our election speculation and who could potentially succeed Prime Minister Trudeau. There's so many. I was at an event yesterday and somebody said to me, well, Christia's up next. And I was like, is she? Because is that just going to repeat this pattern to have her in there with handing her a party that's so low in the polls? Like for the first time I started to think about that. And that was definitely because of this podcast and the conversations we were very lucky to have this year.
Yeah.
Should we dive into some headlines? Speaking of,
let's do it.
Of low in the polls.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Well, okay. The House of Commons wrapped up this week. They ended a couple of days early, and I used to work for the government House Leader. And to give you an insider understanding of what happens, it's like the end of the school year. And everyone gets giddy and they're like, okay, we have 2 more bills to vote on and then we're out of here. And everyone's saying bye to their friends and signing the yearbook. Just kidding. There's no yearbook, but there should be. And so I saw that they rose and I was like, ooh, this is so exciting. We called our newsletter this week, Pearl's out for the summer. And I got a couple of people that were like, I love that. That's so funny. So Pearl's out for the summer. What do you think?
And the barbecue season has begun.
Barbecue season.
So it really is kind of like school because barbecue season's kind of like summer camp, right?
Yeah.
where the leaders go off to different parts of the country, have barbecues and different ridings, usually ridings that need a little extra love and help.
I don't know if you saw, but Pierre is currently in an RV in Quebec. So he took his whole family camping in this RV as they drive through Quebec. So that's kind of summer campy.
It is summer campy.
Yeah.
We will hear. So it's interesting because summer is, everyone has always said that summer is when people tune out.
Yeah.
They're with their own families. They have a lot going on in their lives. Their kids are at summer's camp. We know what it's like. But I actually think that because of how we consume information and news now, we're never tuned out. So summer to me is just a new opportunity to make headlines in different ways. And I think that the parties are really thinking about going deep into communities. Like, where can you go? I think the Liberals are thinking about how well Trudeau does in that kind of environment when he's face to face with people, when he's not having to deal with the hammering in the House, right?
Right.
And he doesn't necessarily have to respond to the Conservative agenda. He can just set his own path and course. So I think the Liberals are thinking about like getting him out there, getting, you know, a bunch of their MPs into the communities and really talking to people and starting to get a gauge and pulse outside of the polls for how people are feeling when you have those conversations one-on-one. What do you think the conservative calculus is right now for the summer?
Well, just on that, I completely agree with you. And I think we saw a poll this week from Ipsos that said that 68% of Canadians want Justin Trudeau to leave the leadership. And so when I thought about that, I was thinking, if I was his team, retail politics is his bread and butter. I mean, 2015, he's bringing out these crowds, people. Even my own mother, when he was in Vancouver, would like stop him on the street. I talked about this actually on the first episode. And she would like just fawn over him because of his father. But he has this ability to connect with people. And so when I think about that poll that came out, I think, will he be able to turn that around this summer? Because this is his best shot. Retail politics, the barbecue circuit. So I'm actually really interested to see how he does through the summer. The question...
So how do you think the Conservatives can or will respond to that? Because they have really, I think you and I both agree that the Conservatives have done a really formidable job in setting the agenda, pushing the narrative, making the Liberals, you know, sit on their back heels and having to be in a place of responding versus setting. How do you think that they'll frame things, knowing that Trudeau is really good at this kind of one-on-one meeting with people all summer long? What can they do to sort of inject themselves into that?
I don't think they need to do anything.
No.
I think the thing is, for them, it's theirs to lose. And they need to focus themselves on meeting with their own communities, with supporters, gaining support in Quebec, which we're seeing this week with Pierre spending the week in Quebec, and just letting Trudeau do his own thing and hoping for the best, which has proven a good strategy for them because things keep coming out. And so last summer we saw... you know, he announced that he was splitting from Sophie Gregoire, and there was headlines that came out throughout the summer. If I was doing the Conservative Party calculations, I would think that's what I would be hoping for. That Pierre can go, he can meet. Pierre is great at retail politics too, in that the crowds that he's attracting are the Trudeau 2015 crowds. So let Pierre go and meet with people across the country, use his slogans, axe the tax, fix the houses, fix the budget, build the houses. What are the other ones? I can't even remember.
Common sense.
Talk about common sense and let Justin Trudeau go across the country. And there's such a groundswell of people that are angry towards the prime minister. And that's a risky move. To put him in communities where people are unhappy with him, I think is going to have to be a strategic calculation on the Liberal side for this summer.
Well, and for people who maybe aren't as familiar with how these things work, there are entire groups of individuals whose sole responsibility is really leading these tours for the leaders.
Yep.
And everything goes into making sure that the tours aren't offset by something that could, you know, cause a headline that would be a disturbing headline for the party or for the leader. And so, Rachel, what you're saying is so true. This is really tricky territory for the Liberals because they want him out doing his thing, meeting with people. But at the same time, when they know that there is dissatisfaction, that his favorability rate is so low right now, it becomes really challenging to make sure that he's not in a position where he has a bunch of hecklers or signs and things that create this vision and this idea that, you know, it's not all as hunky-dory as he would like it to be on this circuit. So this becomes like, I really feel for these tour people who are responsible for getting the shot and creating, you know, these moments where he can really shine. That being said, to your point, this is really, we'll talk about other litmus tests today. This is a litmus test for him. Can he turn some of these polls around doing what we all know he does best? And if at the end of the summer, they're not seeing the momentum swing in their direction, or even allowing for these numbers to trail off a bit, I really do think that they'll be in some scary territory.
Well, did you watch me on CBC? Because I said that exact thing.
No, I didn't. But this is how
our brains work.
This is how connected. Yes. No. What did you? Is that what you said?
So that is what I said. But I said after the 68% of Canadians wanting him to leave, they said to me, "Is he going to leave?" And I said, "Retail politics is his jam. If he can't turn this around by the end of the summer, in September, there's going to have to be some really hard conversations." I think,
yes,
if they want to even debate a runway for the next leader.
But I still feel like it becomes an almost impossible proposition to try to have a leadership race, to try to put a new candidate in place, to try to get that person familiar enough with Canadians to be able to swing that vote just, less than a year later. So I think that's really, really tricky.
Maybe
it's been done.
Yeah. And the headline of the 68% poll was Trudeau rock bottom. So if you're really rock bottom, sorry to say that. It wasn't my headline. It was something. It was Ipsos's headline. But if you're really rock bottom, you got to move. I mean, they got to just rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
So really, maybe we should be watching Mark Carney all summer. That's what we're learning. See what he's doing.
Anyway,
okay.
It's good fun for us. But before then, there is another, I mentioned this, another litmus test. And that is a by-election in St. Paul's.
On Monday.
On Monday, which is very close to where I live. The Liberal candidate is Leslie Church, who's been on our podcast.
She has.
And this is what people will refer to as a safe riding for the Liberals. So it's a long-held Liberal riding. And the reason why they're calling it a litmus test is obviously because with the Liberal Party down in the polls, will Leslie Church be able to pull out this victory in the by-election? Saying that this is really a critical win for the Liberals because a loss would suggest that, there's more of that to come, but a win could suggest that they're still in the game. What do you think?
Well, the interesting part about this by-election to me is the number of resources they put into it. So just for context, in 2011, when the Conservatives won a majority, the Liberals became the third party. The NDP was the opposition for the first time, I think, in history.
Right.
It was a complete crash of the Liberal Party, and they were left with 34 seats. One of those seats of the entire country was St. Paul's. They have held that riding no matter what. So this is not even a safe seat. This is a Liberal seat, period. The question is, they've now, to win, if they win this riding, which I think they will, they have put in, I think it's 38 members of parliament have visited this riding during this campaign, 13 cabinet ministers. For context, if you get one cabinet minister during a general election in your riding, they're trying to win it. So they've had 13 in this one. So the number of resources that the Liberals have put in to ensuring they win this, they also have a star candidate. Leslie Church has been with the Liberals for a long time. She was a chief of staff to Chrystia Freeland. We had her on our podcast. She's lovely. She's well experienced. And yet the number of resources they had to sink in, I think if they come out with a win that is a very narrow margin, that still indicates that they're in big trouble, because if we go into a general, they can't pour that number of resources into these ridings that are not as secure. And so the reason people are saying this is a litmus test is not only because of the current polls and what they're saying about the leader, but also because of just how hard a win has been to pull off in such a safe seat.
Yeah.
I'm nerding out on Monday. I'm going to be watching the whole day.
We're definitely going to be watching this one. I think that the Conservatives may have overshot on this one a little bit, because the spin from the Conservatives was really that if the Liberals lose this riding, it's time for Trudeau to go. And I think if they win the riding, which they're going the polls
to
say they're likely to do.
Yeah.
It will be likely a close race with a thin, people have said razor thin margin. But if he takes it, where do the Conservatives go from there? Because they put out this message that if he loses, he has to go. So if they win, he stays?
I think there's a case to be made that if he can't pull off a massive win after sinking that many resources into this riding, how could he win a general election? And with the number, I mean, that poll with the 68% saying that they wanted him to go, including a third of Liberals, how can he? I think what the Conservatives are trying to position is that there's a legitimate narrative for him to leave. And if that starts to spread, the groundswell of trying to push him out, I think is there, the foundation to say, nonpartisanly, just as a strategist, if the Liberals come out of this with a razor thin margin, I still think that's a huge win for the Conservatives, because this was not a winnable riding in any way. Carolyn Bennett was undefeatable, and the number of resources that the Conservatives historically have put into this riding have been just so minimal that now, if they're getting closer on this one, it's really interesting. The other thing that I'm watching is this riding is 15%. They have 15% of the riding is the Jewish community. And so the Liberal position on Gaza and Israel has been maybe at odds with some of the Jewish community positions. And so, like I've said, I think I said it last week, who's motivated to come out and vote? And if 15% of the riding comes out and votes against him, will that shift? Because I don't know. I don't know who's going to vote. I don't know what the advanced polls have been like, but I think there's a lot of Liberals that are going to sit at home and say, I'm not motivated to go and do this.
So 10,000, almost 11,000 ballots were cast in the advance poll, which is an estimated almost 13% of the riding's registered electors. I don't know where that number sits. Is that considered a big?
No, not great.
Okay. Not great, which is interesting, which is really interesting. To your point, Carolyn Bennett held the seat even during the party's really low point in 2011, and she won by more than 20 points in the last federal election. So that was a big win. It would be a huge breakthrough, though, for the Conservatives, because the party hasn't won a seat in urban Toronto since 2011.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Since 2011.
Coming from Vancouver, that's not crazy at all. And there's no Tory seats here. We had Wei Young in 2011 also won, but and I think that's a really good point, actually. Like, as we think about the summer and we think about going into a federal election next year, like, for me, that's a bigger litmus test. Can the Tories break into urban Canada, MTV, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver? Because if they can, that would be a true blue wave, I think.
And will they spend time trying to etch away at that possibility, or will they spend time outside of the urban centers making sure that those votes are solidified?
I think the Tories will always go to the 905.
Yeah.
That's their base. That's what's secure. Yeah. And if they get enough support that bleeds into those urban ridings, then we're really in business. That is exciting.
So we'll see. And unfortunately, we don't have a podcast after the by-election, so you'll just have to go on you'll have to go onto Instagram to see what we think.
Exactly.
We'll have opinions that day for sure.
Oh man. Maybe you'll report live from St. Paul's.
Oh, I could.
That'd be fun.
Could do that.
Okay, let's just talk about a couple more issues.
Okay.
There's some big stuff that they kind of rammed through at the end of the session. One being the IRGC, which is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard.
Oh, yes.
Has now been listed
this was interesting.
as a terrorist organization. Now, for context, in 2018, the Conservatives tabled a motion in the House to have them listed as a terror organization. The Liberals supported that. 2018 was 6 years ago. They were still debating it. There was tons of non-governmental organizations, advocacy organizations, big Iranian players like Peter McKay's wife coming to the Hill to advocate for them to be listed. Nothing happened. Then Wednesday afternoon, the House is about to rise. They're about to go on session break. And all of a sudden, they're listed. Dominique LeBlanc comes out and says, we're listing them as a terror organization. See you next year. It was so wild.
So why do you think that happened?
I mean, speculation is that it played into the by-election on Monday and just the number of people from the Jewish community, the number of people from the Iranian community in that riding. So other people are saying that Ashley Burke from the CBC got that information and was going to report on it. And so it kind of forced their hand. I don't buy that. Big leaks like that don't really happen, not on purpose. But it was a super big global announcement to where Melanie Joly, the foreign affairs minister, came out and said, Iranians, if you're, or Canadians, if you're in Iran, come home. And there's security issues. And this is, like, for context, this means the police can start getting involved. They can start seizing assets of the IRGC in Canada. They can kick people out of Canada that are tied to the IRGC. There's so many big things. And it was like the last thing they did before they went on summer break.
Yeah,
you tell me why.
I don't know why. That's why I asked you. I don't know. I maybe it had something to do with the by-election. I'm not sure. I have no idea. They haven't had diplomatic ties with Iran since when? Like, they haven't had an embassy in Iran since
I can't remember. Years. It's been
years and years, which is why they've issued this warning to Canadians who may be in Iran, who are traveling through Iran or living there. There really isn't an option in Iran. So they've actually suggested issued advisories to say you should take, as soon as possible, a commercial flight out. Yeah. And they've issued travel advisories as well for anyone who is planning to travel to that region. So this was a big story that did seem to come seemingly out of nowhere, but I don't know.
I had to mention it because I thought maybe you knew something I didn't, because this is just crazy.
I know nothing. I'm crazy. Nothing on this.
I mean, at the end of the day, it was the right thing to do. It was 6 years too late in my mind, but it just was the weirdest timing. I've never seen anything like it. And then what else is going to happen over the summer? What are your predictions? We kind of talked about Trudeau, but
I mean, I think that will be the biggest news of the summer, is the trajectory of the party in the polls. Whether or not Trudeau stays on as leader, I still believe he will. If they're able to turn some of those numbers around, does the NDP break through in any way, shape, or form? What are they going to do this summer?
Where are they?
I don't know. It's the oddest thing to be so. We talked about this last week on the pod.
Yeah.
We had Leah Ward on, and they did a great job of trying to explain this one. But I find it fascinating that the NDP have so tied themselves to the Liberals. They, despite being tied to the Liberals through the agreement, they still have had a very, very hard time distinguishing themselves. They can't seem to get the credit for some of the things that have been pushed through, like dental and pharma. But I find it really strange that they can't. No, this is actually what I find strange. I find it strange that the Conservatives have been able to eat their lunch on some of these affordability issues. Yeah. The NDP should have been able to run wild with some of these issues, and instead they conceded ground to the Conservatives, and that is fascinating to me.
I always say a strong NDP is a strong Conservative government. And so I am just like, Jagmeet, call me. What can I do to help you? I can't understand what's going on there. What's the party apparatus behind them? I know they're having fundraising issues, but like still,
Yes.
I mean, we're getting close here. I hope they've turned that around. My hope is that this summer he comes out and just does more to really frame himself as the champion of these social issues, as these social programs, dental care, free birth control. Those, he needs to champion those before the next election. If Trudeau gets the credit for that, then it's a huge loss for them, and they will take a hit on that.
There's no way for them to get the credit on something that the Liberals push through. Like, I just don't see that as a possibility. People see that as a Liberal promise, as a Liberal promise kept.
It's interesting that you say that, because I was out for dinner last night and somebody said to me, does Justin Trudeau have a legacy? What's his legacy? And they said, is it just legalizing marijuana? I said, you know what? To his credit, he's been there for a decade almost. There's more. There's got to be more. And I started to think, and I was like, will those programs that Jagmeet has pushed through because of this agreement be attributed to Justin Trudeau ultimately? Dental care.
Think so.
But I think it was a loss for the Liberals, because I don't know that it will. I don't know that everyone will equate Justin Trudeau to dental care. I really think that's still going to be a win for the NDP more than the Trudeau government.
Because I think if it was a win for the NDP, we would have seen some of that, and we haven't. I mean,
the polls,
when you think back in party politics, when has there been a time where you've attributed a major policy change to a third party, even without an agreement? Like, even if they champion the issue, maybe the exception to that would be the Green Party on issues obviously related to climate, but the governing party still gets credit for what they've been able to both push through and to fund. So I think things like pharma, yes. I also think things like childcare, $10 a day childcare. I think we've yet to see the full effects of that. And we haven't really put it on the line yet. Like, we haven't yet come into an election where we've said to Canadians, all right, here's your choice. Because guess what? The Conservatives want to save money. If this is an austerity movement, there are things that are going to be on the chopping block. So what do you care about? Do you care about $10 a day childcare? Do you care about pharmacare? Do you care about dental? Those are things that the Liberals are going to absolutely take credit for, and they should. They were the governing party that pushed those things through.
That's completely correct. And then I think most Canadians just want to afford groceries, and they're going to say to the Liberals, goodbye to your programs. I need to afford a roof over my head.
I think that could happen also. Although, you know what came in my mail today?
What?
My rebate. My carbon rebate.
Your carbon rebate.
Yes.
I wouldn't know what that is, because I live in British Columbia and we don't get that.
That's right. That is right. But I got it. And I was like, interesting. Because there it is in black and white, you know, a piece of paper that I'm holding in my hand that tells me there's money that's been deposited and there are 2 more deposits to come. And I thought, I thought that's everyone has to, no matter how you have felt about the carbon, I'll call it what they call it, the carbon tax. When you get that rebate in the mail, does it change your mind? For the first time, when people actually see it, feel it in their hands, see it in their bank accounts, does it change their mind? I'll be curious about that.
Money talks, for sure.
Money talks.
But you know what else hurts more? When you go to the store and strawberries are $7.99 and you think, I can't give my kids strawberries because they're too expensive. That's the point that most Canadians are at. And getting a check for however much the carbon rebate is, I don't think will offset that. And I think that Pierre's messaging over the last year has just been so exceptional in terms of I was at a thing with the one of the party leaders in British Columbia yesterday, and he said David Eby is trying to make you believe that you paying will change the weather. And I think that message you paying money is going to change the weather. So he's talking about like in British Columbia with our wildfires. Evie says the carbon tax is going to help with the wildfires, and ultimately that there is some truth in that.
There is.
But you have to dive really deep into a very complicated policy. And so breaking it down, that messaging is what's going to win, I think, the hearts and minds of Canadians.
And I actually think Liberals, if they're listening, part of the job for them is to remind Canadians that electing the Conservatives doesn't mean that the price of your strawberries is going down the very next day or the next week or the next month, because that's not how economics works, not how inflation works. And so they have been successful on their simple messaging, and I think people have eaten it up. Yeah. But they have not had to explain themselves, and they have not had to put forward the alternative.
That's right. And hopefully the Liberals do that. We've been waiting for them to turn this comms ship around. We have been. And I have a very good friend who's, as you know, who is working for the Liberals now. Max Valaket. He's a great communicator. And I know that he's excited about some of the communications that they're planning on over the coming months. So we will wait with bated breath. We sure will. To see how that goes. And how much strawberries cost when we come back. Exactly. Everyone, if you find a good strawberry deal, please let us know. You know what my problem is? Blackberries. Because my daughter's obsessed with blackberries. She'll sit and eat a pint of them. Oh my gosh. One sitting. I don't know where this love of blackberries comes from. It's bankrupting me. Holy moly, are blackberries expensive. Yeah, it's crazy. You know what's always a deal I find? Blueberries. Blueberries. Oh, maybe it's an Ontario thing. Like, maybe, but blueberries are like the blueberries you can find a deal on. Really? You got to ship me some. I will send you some blueberries. You would think maybe you can turn her from a blackberry lover to a blueberry lover. I've tried. I have tried strawberries. I've tried every fruit you can imagine. Blackberries are really her jam. So if anyone produces blackberries that listens, I'm your girl. I'll send them my way. Maybe the thing to do this summer is to look for those stands, like those farmer stands. We have them. And we do too. It's just like, when you live in downtown Toronto. Yeah. Or Vancouver or any city, you don't, I think that it's not as in your face, you're not driving down the country road where the stand is and you're like, oh, I'm going to pick up my peaches here. Right. You're like, no, I'm going to go to Summerhill Market and spend an actual arm and a leg. Yeah, exactly. What are your summer plans? Thank God for that carbon rebate. Yeah. Thank God. Now you can go spend that check, that black and white check at Summerhill. Here I come. They see me coming from a mile away. Any big summer plans? Like anything exciting that you're looking forward to? I'm looking forward to. No, it's a really big time for our business. We do not slow down in the summer. Summer is one of our busiest periods. So I'll look for those in between moments. Yeah. Where, we're in a lake somewhere, hanging with the kids, seeing them have a little time off from not just school, but from all of their activities. Moms who are listening, y'all know what I'm talking about. Totally. Like, we are summer camp heavy, but I am so glad that we're not going from like school to 6 activities. Yeah. I'm looking forward to at least a little bit of the slowdown. Yeah. I agree. You? I have a very slow July, which is something I'm guarding very closely. And really looking forward to, because the fall is insane. And are you going anywhere in July? So we have the Okanagan here, which is so gorgeous. I guess it's the equivalent of Muskoka in Ontario, in Toronto. But we are going to go up there. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law live up there, and it's always so wonderful to be out in the heat and near a lake. And and then I'm just traveling for work all of August, September, October, but July is going to be nice and slow. So if somebody was listening and they were like, there's
I'm going to come to BC this summer.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the one place that I absolutely have to visit? What would you say?
Well, Vancouver, obviously. Invest in Vancouver. But we have such an incredible province in the summer. The islands are amazing. Each island has its own personality and is really, you can go on a 20-minute ferry and get to an island. You can go on a 2-hour, 3-hour ferry and get to an island. The interior, Kelowna, Kamloops, Soyuz, like those are hot and they're amazing. As you'll remember, I was evacuated from wildfire in Kelowna last summer.
Yes.
So that's in the back of my mind again. But if the wildfire season stays at bay, which I'm sure it won't, unfortunately, those areas are incredible during the summer.
I love that. It's a good tip.
Yeah, it is. And then the north, I got to give a shout out to the north because I was up there last week. And
oh, you were? That's right.
Yeah, I was in Prince George. Incredible work being done up there. So we got a whole province. I mean,
you do?
Yeah, like there's places to go. We got water. We got mountains.
Come visit BC.
Yeah, come spend money in the BC economy because we are currently in huge amounts of debt. We need your cash. Yeah, I guess Ontario has a lot too, but
you said that with like
sorry, Doug.
No, Ontario has great places to visit. There are so many lakes to visit in Ontario in the summer. So much great camping. If you're a camper, amazing provincial parks, amazing campsites. If you're looking to road trip to somewhere that offers a little more in terms of like restaurants, there's Prince Edward County, which is such a beautiful,
so gorgeous
location. The Niagara region is always also so beautiful. Niagara Lake, so beautiful.
You're right.
And yeah, we spend a lot of time touring around the province in the summer.
It's great. Oh, now I want to come out there and go to Prince Edward County.
Didn't I just sell it?
You did. Invest Ontario. There you go. You're doing Doug Ford's work.
We need you too.
I think your budget's in a little better shape than ours. We would be remiss if we also didn't mention it was your birthday this week. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
We were so excited to celebrate you. So
thanks. That's so nice. It was a great birthday spent with my kiddos.
Yeah.
That's who nice. Like are so excited about birthdays, you know?
Me
Even
too.
if we're not, they're so excited. They're so sweet. We went to a restaurant and I saw my son like sneak off and he wanted to tell the waiter that
that's so
it was
cute.
my birthday. And then when the waiter came with like the plate that had happy birthday on it and like a little candle and actually it was a candle and like a cherry, or so very odd. But anyway, came over with it. Asher like reached up as if like, no, I've got to deliver this moment to my mom. It was really cute. And then at the end, so they sing happy birthday. And then at the end, they're like, are you? And they start to, you know how the kids do, like, are you 7?
1?
Are you 8? But they're like, are you 39? Are you 40? Are you 41? I'm like, okay, we're done.
Yeah, we're done. Let's stop there. We'll stop at 39.
Done. The whole restaurant's looking at me. I'm like, I'm good. I'm 39.
39 and a few years. But who's counting?
Exactly.
Who's counting?
I feel like when I turned 35, I started to have this idea that like, if I just stayed 35 for like 2 years, nobody would notice.
Yeah, nobody would notice.
You know, and then when you're 37, you're like, oh, I'm 36.
Yeah.
Right? And so you just start shaving a year off now and then.
The latter 30s are all just a blur anyways. Nobody cares.
Those are the
late
best
30s.
years, though.
Yeah. Well, we're only going up in age, so what can you do? I also have a birthday this summer, so
What day is your birthday?
August 18th.
August 18th. That makes you what are you?
Leo.
A Leo.
Are you a Cancer?
No, I'm a Gemini.
Gemini. On the cusp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know anything about Geminis, but
I don't know anything really about any of this, but I do know what I am.
Well, if you know anything, let us know. Okay.
Exactly.
I feel I'm like stalling because I'm so sad for this to end, but it's not an end. It's just a break. For those that want to mark your calendar, our first episode for the next season is going to come out on the 13th
Dun,
of
dun, dun.
September.
Woohoo!
Or the 20th. We haven't decided, but probably the 13th. The House comes back on the 16th.
Launch that date.
Let's say the 13th. You'll hear from us on the 13th of September,
Oh my gosh,
regardless. But the House is back on the 16th of September. And as we all know, we follow the House when it comes to scheduling. So,
And we want to hear from you.
yes, we
So
do.
tell us what you want to hear in our second season.
Yeah.
Is there a person that you're dying to have us talk to? Because we
Mhm.
will reach out to anyone. Is there a topic that you want us to cover? Is there something that you loved from season 1? Is there something that you think that we should never touch again?
Yeah.
The good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between. We are open, and we really, honestly, the feedback means a lot to us. We love hearing from you.
So if you subscribe to our newsletter next week, there's going to be a survey that comes out about the podcast where you can just go onto our website and send us all this information so that we can hear from you and start planning for season 2. And that said,
amazing.
that's it. That's a wrap on season
That's a
1.
wrap.
I can't
That's
believe
a
it.
wrap.
All right. Well, wishing all of you an incredible summer. You'll hear from us if anything exciting like an election takes place. But in the meantime, watch St. Paul's on Monday, and we will be back with you soon. Have a great summer. Bye.
Bye.